So it's not on purpose that the exposure on my camera is making me look whiter than usual. Just so you know, I'm not white, I'm actually brown. But yeah, so it's not on purpose. I just can't seem to figure out the exposure at the moment. Anyway, I just listened to The Politics of Emergency, which is Sam Harris's latest podcast title. And it got really interesting when they started talking about, he was interviewing Fareed Zakaria, and who's actually a pretty intelligent guy, but the conversation got pretty interesting when they started talking about criticizing religion. So a couple things, I guess first off, they were talking about, the term, which is a bit of an oxymoron, Muslim atheist. And it's a title I think that's been more popularized by Ali A. Rizvi's book, or Atheist Muslim. There we go with the exposure. The sun's out too. So anyway, so the premise about saying, I think when I first used that term, it was I called myself a Muslim atheist, and I think the Muslim part of that, or an atheist Muslim, however you say it. It's kind of ephemeral. It's sort of an indicator of how you came to atheism, and it definitely ties into stuff about stuff about the origins of where you're coming from when you say you're an atheist. I mean, it's not irregular or uncommon in the world today to meet atheists who were previously religious. Although there's a large segment of society that just never really thought about it that much, but had some sort of religious influence at some point in their lives, and even identify as religious by through what their parents made them or told them to believe, etc., etc. So anyway, I'm kind of getting confused here and kind of jumping all over the place, but the idea about, which was the really interesting part of the podcast, the idea about criticizing religion, it kind of reminded me of a Russian TV or RT interview that Lawrence Krauss did, where the reporter was asking him, why use ridicule? And this is kind of bumping up, kind of using a, mockery or ridicule, using that as a vehicle for criticizing religion and why that should be so. I think sometimes when you get into these arguments about, in this sort of existential way, we forget that sometimes there is a level at which people have evolved to in thinking about religion. The world is undeniably less violent through religious means, in terms of understanding and in terms of understanding how religion works and what it preaches. They use the example of in the Quran, having to cut off the hands of thieves. We don't do that anymore. Maybe in Saudi Arabia, but we don't do these things anymore. We've generally gotten to a point, even if there are evolutionary ties to religion, that in which we all have the capacity to understand that these things are not, and for the most part we do understand that, because in most countries of the world you don't cut off the hands of thieves. Like, I mean, it's not like I'm pretending that some of us are better and some of us understand better than other people. I mean, we all understand this. Like, I mean, it's not that crazy to think of it. Like, but I mean, in terms of the ridicule, I mean, you could use different methods of criticizing religion: mockery, comedy, intellectualism, etc., etc. And you can come about these statements because it's not like we have to treat conservative religious people as with kid gloves. I mean, and if you do, then that's a problem itself. That is a big part of the problem, that you have to be somehow censored. I mean, Canada just repealed its blasphemy law. I mean, you if you feel that you have to be censored in criticizing religion and that religionists need to be treated with kid gloves, or they feel they need to be treated with kid gloves, that in itself is a big problem. That is part of the problem. So it was an interesting interview. I know I kind of jumped all over the place in this video, but you know, that's it was a really great podcast, and I just wanted to make a video about it. But yeah, that's about it.